Hi, I'm Dabby, but you can call me Dabz. So today I'm reviewing You've Reached Sam by Dustin Tao. So my friend read this book and she really loved it. It's one of her favorite books, so I was like, maybe I'll pick it up and read it because we were at Barnes & Noble one day, like a couple months ago, and I just recently finished it. So let's review it. The main character is a high school senior, Julie, and she has her future all planned out, or so she thought, until her boyfriend Sam dies in a car accident. And after that, Julie is empty and she's heartbroken and she doesn't know what to do. She skips Sam's funeral and she throws out all the things that he gave her, and she attempts to forget both Sam and the pain that she's feeling after his death. But when she gives in and she calls Sam's number one last time, desperate to hear his voice, Sam picks up the phone. So this book was very interesting because I read like the little inside like blurb of it, and I was very captivated by the idea of the book. I thought it was a very unique idea. And reading, like after finishing reading it, the book touches grief in, I think, in my opinion, an amazing way. Obviously, everyone grieves in different ways, but in this book specifically, Julie struggles, like the way that she's dealing with grief, she's struggling to say goodbye, and she's struggling to accept Sam's death. And I think the way that like Julie's character was written and the story in general was written was very touching, and the feelings were very raw, and the author kind of showed that like grief can be very messy and it can be very like hard to deal with in a good way. And I definitely cried twice, at least twice. I don't know if it was more, but there was once in the beginning, like where it was like describing the situation that I cried, and then at the very end I cried again. So if that gives you a little insight, but I feel like I cry a lot during books. So one like issue, like not I guess issue that I saw with this book, like for me personally, was that I felt like the book didn't have much plot. Like it's mostly focused on Sam's death and like the calls between Sam and Julie when after Sam picks up the phone. But I feel like there aren't many secondary conflicts besides that, and I feel like the story like it was a little bit hard to read and a little bit hard to get through because I feel like it really wasn't advancing anywhere besides like that aspect of like just Sam's death and Julie's grief. I just felt like it was like lacking of plot, like events that actually happened in the story. But I feel like that the characters and especially the writing like made up for the lack of plot. So first, the writing was very easy to understand and read, but it still made me feel a lot, and I feel like it went into detail when it needed to. Like there were specific parts where the author described like the scene or like Julie's feelings very beautifully, but like a majority of the time it was very straightforward, like what was happening in the story, like the language of it was very easy to understand. I also think that the characters were very diverse and there was a lot of good representation in this book, but also I want to specifically talk about Julie's character because I think that she was written very well. I think that she was definitely unlikable at some parts, but I think that that was on purpose because I think the author is trying to show how a person can get when it comes to facing grief. And even though Julie made a lot of bad decisions in this book, definitely, and she definitely let her emotions get the best of her, which obviously makes sense since her boyfriend just died. But I felt myself still sympathizing with Julie and still hoping that the best like happened to her, even after she did these kind of terrible things. So the ending of this book, for me, it was a little underwhelming, but I can't really say why because of spoilers, but I still do want to say. So basically, the spoiler I want to say is there was no explanation for the connection between Julie and Sam, like for the reason that Sam could call her or like Julie could call Sam after he died. And I think that made the ending a little underwhelming because I thought that everything was going to be explained at the end, but it kind of wasn't. And I also just didn't know that the book was a fantasy. I thought it was kind of like a mystery, kind of. So maybe that's part of the reason why I felt underwhelmed. But even like knowing that it's a fantasy, I still feel that there should be some sort of explanation. I feel like the book would have been better if there was some sort of explanation. But yeah, I think most of the reason is just because I thought there would be a twist at the end, or I thought everything would be explained, so it felt underwhelming to me. However, I think that the epilogue, there's an epilogue like after the ending, I think that part wrapped it up very nicely. I think that was a very good, like, heartwarming, touching ending to it. Overall, I think that the idea of this book was very unique. Like I said, when I first read like this little blurb, I was instantly like kind of drawn in, and I wanted to read it because I was like, wow, this is such a good idea for a story, and I think it had a lot of potential too. I definitely think that the execution could have been a little bit better, especially plot-wise, but overall, I did like enjoy this book, and I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars, and it's good for people. Honestly, anyone can read it. It's just about grief and love is like the biggest basis of it. It has some like touching topics like death, and there's like a couple more, so I would look it up, but like for the most part, I think it's okay for even middle grade. So that would be the end of my book review. If you like this video, then like this video and subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and happy reading.
Ba-da-ba.